This is the Barry Richards Show. WBSM On Demand.
Without further ado,
WBSM presents The Barry Richards Show. Streaming live on WBSM.com and the WBSM app. Call 508-996-0500. Text us using App Chat on the WBSM app. Now, The Barry Richards Show.
I got my toes in the water, ass in the sand. Not a worry in a world of cold beer in my hand. Life is good today. Life is good today. Well, a plane touched down just about 3 o'clock, and the city's still on my mind. Bikinis and palm trees danced in my head. I was still in the baggage line. Concrete cars of their own.
And welcome to the program for a Tuesday afternoon. 12:16 is our time. Zach Brown Band there. And Toes. And a great tune there. Nice Caribbean sound. Makes me think of summer and warm weather. The sun is out here on the neck anyway. I'm not sure where you are. It's mostly cloudy, but the sun is out. And some rain expected later. And I guess all of the forecasts for massive amounts of snow have all gone by the boards. We're going to get a nor'easter later in the week, midweek, I think about Thursday. But it's going to be rain everywhere. Even in the higher elevations, there might be some wet snow mixed in, but it's going to be rain. And I know that bums some of you out who are snow lovers and maybe hoping to get some last-minute spring skiing in, but looks like it's going to be a washout for that. All right, welcome to the program, and a bunch of things going on. I really don't want to beat the crap out of this thing, but I just wanted to update you. I know we spent some time talking about this yesterday, the Transgender Day of Visibility. And since we got together yesterday, or since we parted ways, the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, actually had the audacity to say that the entire story of Biden declaring on March 31st of this year, Easter Sunday, the Transgender Day of Visibility, she called it misinformation. Hello? For folks who understand this calendar and how it works, Easter falls on different Sundays every year, and this year it happened to coincide with Transgender Visibility Day. She began deeming the entire story line misinformation, which she asserts was done on purpose. As a Christian who celebrates Easter with family, President Biden stands for bringing people together and upholding the dignity and freedom of every American. Jean-Pierre proclaimed, accusing Biden's critics of, quote, seeking to divide and weaken our country with cruel, hateful, and dishonest rhetoric that we've heard the past 24 hours. Jean-Pierre failed to note that Biden actually released the proclamation on Good Friday, the day of that Christians everywhere remember the crucifixion of Jesus. In the proclamation that was released on Friday, Biden celebrated Transgender Day of Visibility and went on to make sure everyone was aware that March 31st, which was Easter Sunday, is also Transgender Day of Visibility. The proclamation reads, or read, and I quote, "Therefore, I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2024 as Transgender Day of Visibility. I call upon all Americans to join us in lifting up the lives and voices of transgender people throughout our nation and to work toward eliminating violence and discrimination based on gender identity." Now, bizarrely, yesterday, Biden denied declaring this year's Easter Sunday as Transgender Day of Visibility, despite a proclamation showing that he did just that. So, I mean, this stuff gets weirder and weirder and weirder. And we have the proclamation on Friday, Good Friday. The president issued this proclamation declaring March 31st, 2024, the Transgender Day of Visibility, whether it's on the calendar or it's not on the calendar. He declared it as such with a proclamation on Friday. And with quite a moving statement, if you will. And then they took a lot of flack. And so Biden and the White House both saying, well, we never proclaimed that. Well, yeah, you got a proclamation right here. And Biden said when he was asked yesterday, he was asked by a reporter, he actually said, and I quote, "I didn't do that," and claimed that Speaker Mike Johnson criticized Biden for making the proclamation is, quote, thoroughly uninformed. But again, I mean, the denial is blatantly false because on Good Friday, the White House issued a proclamation titled "A Proclamation on Transgender Day of Visibility 2024. So, I mean, somebody raised the issue yesterday. I think it might have been Speaker Johnson about, the scary part here is, did Biden even know what he was signing? And did he know he actually did? Make that declaration. So there's that. Do with it as you choose. It's there. The shelter policy negotiations here in Massachusetts actually get started in earnest yesterday. Lawmakers began a conference committee. When the House has a bill and the Senate has a bill, they put together a conference committee and get together around a table behind closed doors, and they try to work out a compromise. So they started work yesterday negotiating a bill that's expected to eventually inject hundreds of millions more dollars into the state's family shelter system and put time limits on how long homeless families are allowed to stay in the system. Ways and Means Committee chairs Representative Aaron Michalowicz and Senator Michael Rodrigues will lead the negotiations, as they are also both working on budgets for the upcoming fiscal year. In opening statements, both chairs emphasized the urgency of these negotiations. The House version of the fiscal 2024 spending bill directs $245 million toward the shelter system, while the Senate bill would authorize the Healy administration to pull from an $863 million state savings account called the Transitional Escrow Fund across both fiscal 24 and fiscal 25. So the House is looking to pump $245 million into the problem that would take us through the end of this fiscal year, and then we'll worry about next fiscal year. The Senate is looking to put $863 million out of a bank account that the state has to cover costs for this fiscal year or next fiscal year. But I hate to tell you this, $863 million is only, that's only a drop in the bucket compared to what this is going to cost. Much of the debate will revolve around the use of reserve funds, which have grown since an influx of federal dollars during the pandemic and state budget surpluses allowed lawmakers to tuck away historic amounts. So we've got historic amounts in the bank due to one-time money pumped into the government by the federal government under ARPA, money that Biden printed in the basement. So here's the problem. You pump one-time money into a problem and you create a structural deficit. That means you have to find money next year in order to continue funding that. And if you've already drained the one-time money, where does that money come from? So that is a bonehead idea. But government does that all the time. And they love to do it here in Massachusetts. They won't cut spending anywhere, but they will just keep, building up that budget with one-time money. Meanwhile, residents in Boston are up in arms about a plan to shelter hundreds of migrants inside the former Chelsea Soldiers Home. The story's gone national now. It's New York Post had a piece about it yesterday. Governor Healy announced last week that the historic Chelsea Soldiers Home would be converted into a facility to house 100 migrant families, including pregnant women. Social media is ablaze. I can't believe the Chelsea Soldiers Home, which is for the vets, is going to be used for the immigrants' overflow, said George Belmont on social media. How about taking care of the homeless vets first? I am all for helping people, but how about taking care of those already here and homeless? Massachusetts resident Denise Levy also expressed anger that migrants would be put in the location for free while veterans who fought for our country had to pay to live there. Disgusting, she wrote. According to the Chelsea Soldiers Home website, single veterans that lived at the Soldiers Home had to pay $30 per day with a $300 personal exemption from personal income for nursing home care. Veterans who did not require nursing home care were asked to give $10 per day with the $300 exemption. The Chelsea Soldiers Home was shut down in December after Massachusetts opened a larger veterans facility on Powderhorn Hill. Secretary of Veterans Services, Dr. John Santiago, told the Boston Herald that the new migrant facility would not impact veterans services. The Veterans Home in Chelsea will become a safety net for migrants where beginning May 1st, they will have to prove they are working to wean off government assistance by applying for work authorization, learning English, and searching for permanent residency. According to actually this story was in Fox News this morning. Again, the New York Post had a piece about it yesterday. Jill Battenfield, who writes opinion pieces for the Boston Herald, wrote Healy is once again facing anger and outrage over her treatment of veterans after the state announced last week it's converting the former Chelsea Soldiers Home into a migrant housing while hundreds of veterans in Massachusetts struggle with homelessness. Healy picked the Soldiers Home property, which is deeded for use by veterans, for the latest shelter for the thousands of migrant families pouring into the state. State officials argued that the building converted into migrant housing was vacant and slated to be demolished anyway, so they decided to use it for the migrant influx, which is blowing $1 billion a year hole in the state's budget. Secretary of Veterans Services, Dr. John Santiago, said Massachusetts has proven that we can take care of veterans and families experiencing homelessness in our state. But Battenfield says they haven't been doing a good job if you look at the number of homeless veterans, which stood at more than 500 one night last year. Veterans were charged a fee to live there, says Battenfield. But migrants will live there for free, with all amenities like food and health care provided free. Massachusetts is facing a massive budget deficit to pay for migrants to live here, and officials admit they are pondering severe cuts to programs to prevent the state from going bankrupt, says Battenfield. Interesting, interesting take on the upcoming presidential election. Hillary Clinton has crawled out from under her rock again. And was on something called, it's the Tonight Show, I guess, right? Is it still called the Tonight Show? The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Clinton had a blunt message on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon last night, and maybe you watched it. For those dreading the forthcoming rematch between Biden and Trump, Clinton was asked by Fallon what she'd say to voters that are upset that those are the two choices. Hillary Clinton said, "Get over yourself. Those are the two choices." And she laid out a comparison of the two candidates, Biden and Trump. She said, one is old and effective and compassionate, has a heart, and really cares about people. And one is old and has been charged with 91 felonies, Clinton said. I don't understand why this is even a hard choice. Really, I don't understand it, Clinton continued. But we have to go through this election, and hopefully people will realize what's at stake, because it is an existential question. What kind of country we're going to have, what kind of democracy we can have, and people who blow that off are just paying attention because it's not like Trump. His enablers and empowerers, his allies, are not telling us what they want to do. I mean, they're pretty clear about what kind of country they want. Hillary Clinton. For those of you who think Michelle Obama is going to dive into this thing at the last minute and rescue the Democrat Party forever, we've got some polling here. The JL Partners Daily Mail poll shows that Michelle Obama trails Donald Trump by the same margin that Joe Biden trails Donald Trump in a hypothetical general election matchup. Again, a JL Partners Daily Mail poll. 47% of respondents, likely voter respondents, would back Trump in a race with Michelle Obama, who takes 44%. The breakdown of the remaining respondents' answers was not detailed. The margin is identical to the 3-point margin that Trump and Biden hold in the same poll, though Trump takes a slightly higher percentage of support against Obama, whom pundits have floated as a potential alternative to Biden for Democrats. Trump leads Biden 46 to 43%. Now, here's the interesting thing, because, somebody like Michelle Obama, and I've stated this before, not that she has any intention at all of getting in, and I don't think they could drag her kicking and screaming into this thing, but some of you believe that she's going to get into it. So Michelle Obama right now should have an approval rating of about 97%. Michelle Obama's name should be trouncing Trump in every hypothetical poll out there. Any hypothetical poll, because she's not a candidate, so she's not even leaning toward a candidacy, but any hypothetical poll, okay, Trump against this one, Trump against that one, Trump against Michelle Obama, she should be cleaning his clock. But she's losing to him in a hypothetical matchup. Why is that? You know why? Because people don't like her. She's a miserable, grumpy-ass, old, racist, negative woman, and people don't like her. She's like Hillary Clinton. People don't like her. And the sad truth for Michelle Obama, if she's actually looking at these numbers, or if anybody at the Democrat National Committee is looking at these numbers, and they're saying, my goodness, because once a candidate such as Michelle Obama enters the fray and has to actually start answering policy questions, and has to actually start answering questions about things she said and done. I mean, think about it. Michelle Obama's been like a queen. She's gotten a free ride. She's never had to be held accountable for anything she said or done or hasn't done. Or what is your position on this policy or that policy? Once she says, I'm a candidate, opens her mouth, then she's officially on the record. And the numbers start to go down after that. It's true of any candidate. Once you announce your candidacy and you get in the race, usually your numbers will start to come down. Or maybe they'll start to build up. But in this case, Michelle Obama has a recognizable name and a face, so people pretty much know who she is. But once she starts talking about the Middle East, or once she starts talking about race relations, or once she starts talking about transgenderism, or once she starts talking about the border or whatever, those numbers start to slip a little bit. There's nowhere to go. I mean, if she's polling 3 points behind Trump in a hypothetical right now, imagine if she gets in and the two of them start going at each other and throwing attacks at each other and have to debate. So, I mean, this is not good news for Democrats or anybody who was hoping that Michelle Obama was going to jump in and save the day. So I thought you'd appreciate that. All right, 508-996-0500. Let's grab a couple of calls. And you're first this hour on WBSM. Thanks for hanging on.
Hey, Barry.
Hey.
Quickly on the illegal thing, I'm waiting for the majority of these, quote, old school liberals in the state of Massachusetts start to realize that Maura Healey was the biggest mistake they ever made. They are literally draining this state of its finances and its rainy day fund just to service illegals, some of them criminals, on the orders of the Biden administration. Because let me tell you something. All these governors, they're taking all their orders from the White House on these illegals, plain and simple. Although it is funny, I think you saw this yesterday, I guess it's either the mayor of Denver or the governor of Colorado is now begging and pleading the illegals to leave Colorado and go straight to Chicago and New York. I found that so amusing. It's getting to the point now. I predicted this 10 months ago that at some point Maura Healey is going to start draining the rainy day fund. She's going to start taking money from 9C funding. She's going to use Section 8 housing to stash these people when it would have been cheaper just to put them on a plane and send them back to Mexico or wherever they came from. That's what you're supposed to do, and you file for asylum in that country. You don't come to America, walk in here, get handed everything but the moon, and basically get your butt kissed by these governors who really aren't governors. They're just pieces of the White House when it comes to this whole policy.
Well, Maura Healey, don't forget, Maura Healey's. This has been a policy plank of hers right from the beginning. I've played it a bunch of times. Maybe you didn't hear it, but 2019, Maura Healey in Tijuana, Mexico. Remember? Trump is down on the border trying to get the wall built, trying to, fight the Democrats, get the wall built. And Maura Healey is in Tijuana. I've got the tape right here. Here I am in Tijuana. And in 2019, blasting Trump's policies as cruel and inhumane, and essentially telling folks in Mexico how to get into the country and then how to get to Massachusetts. So, I mean, this has been a pet project of hers long before Joe Biden even thought about running for the White House.
Yeah, she's a fraud. If you look at her campaign money, I bet you anything George Soros is involved with that among numerous people who funneled under a campaign to push these ridiculous immigration policies. Quickly on the Hillary thing, I saw pieces of it. I was laughing last night. Jimmy Fallon's a coward to begin with, and she goes off into this rant. She also claimed that the Republicans, look out, they're going to cheat. Basically, read between the lines, the Democrats are going to cheat again. Okay, and the Clintons really shouldn't talk, because if I was Jimmy Fallon, I would have asked Hillary, hey, what's going on in Haiti, Hillary? Didn't you have something to do with that? Didn't you and your husband steal millions of dollars from Haiti so you can pay for your daughter's wedding, among other things, and left that country into an entire mess, and your late brother owned the rights to all the gold mines in Haiti? You remember that, right, Hillary? I mean, these people are ghouls, total ghouls. They have the audacity to call Trump out. Look in a mirror, Hillary. Go look in a mirror. You and your husband have done a lot of bad things. And let me tell you, Michelle Obama, I agree with you. I don't think she's going to run. They got enough problems on their hands. I mean, we already know about the chef that mysteriously died on their property. We all know what happened there. That was the guy who was about to write a tell-all book on the Obamas. And now with the P. Diddy arrest, because everybody knows now that P. Diddy, Sean Combs, has a dubious relationship with the Obamas, and that may be one of the reasons he was arrested, or they seized all his property last week. So they got enough problems. In the end, if Biden cannot go, it's going to be the pedo ghoul from California. And that guy is the definition of pond scum, Barry.
I don't see any reason why Joe Biden, unless he dies or becomes incapacitated somehow, I don't see any reason that Joe Biden would be getting out of this thing. Jill wants him in there. He wants to be there. And I just don't see any reason why he's going to get out. So, I mean, anybody thinking about, Michelle or the governor of California, I just don't get it. Because I don't think I think the Democrats look at Joe Biden, honestly, as their best option. And that's sad.
He's a front. He's a skeleton key to all their dirty deeds. When you think about it, all these policies aren't his. I mean, that whole transgender day of visibility, all they asked for was his signature. That's it. He had. I have no doubt he had nothing to do with that. He probably doesn't even know what that is right now. Yeah. Okay. They're using him as a front to push all these radical policies, and these aren't the Ted Kennedy Democrat policies.
Oh,
these are these Marxist radical far leftist policies that they're pushing.
Ted Kennedy would look like Ronald Reagan by comparison to these folks. Thank you, my friend. I got to hold you right there. I got to get the next one on. 508-996-0500. Thanks for hanging on. You're on next on WBSM.
Hey, Barry. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I do find it unbelievably comical these days when Hillary Clinton makes any statements, because in the context of where we're at, she's like, it's like a complete joke to listen to her. I mean, you can't take anything she says seriously. And I just laugh out loud, because I'm like, she really must do the mirror on the wall every day and go, you're the president. You must, you have control of all of these things. And she just goes out and talks like she was making that statement, and it's like about, one is an old guy, and she was talking about Biden. Well, she is one old loser that's self-centered. She stole money from the needy, which is the last caller pointed out. Her and her husband stole money from Haitians, money that was given to be used in Haiti. You went to Haiti. You have more of a stake in it than I ever did. And she was protected by the state. And I'm not even going to call it the deep state, because the deep state is something hidden. The state that's protecting these Democrats is not hidden anymore. It's very front and center.
Right. Yeah.
And she got away scot-free. So she has no position to say anything. If this was the 80s, she would have slinked away into a corner and tried to stay out of the limelight. they're so bombastic now. They just stand in the limelight and see, I can rip you off and you can't do anything about it.
Well, nothing ever sticks to them. Yeah, I mean, nothing ever sticks to these people, so they can get away. And it's so hilarious to hear Hillary Clinton talking about, the Republicans are going to try to steal the election and cheat. I mean, this is the woman who spent millions of dollars in campaign funds to pay for opposition research on Trump that was not true. And, I can remember sitting right here at this microphone in 2015 when all of a sudden Hillary Clinton started talking about Russia and Putin. I picked up on it right away, immediately, trying to link Trump to Putin and to Russia. And I picked up a theme right there, and I said, this is going to be a theme. She's going to try to win this thing by painting, Trump as a Putin puppet. Sure enough, that must have been when she received the dossier and all that research. And on and on and on it went. So here we go. We're back to that again, right? It's the Russians, and they're going to cheat. Not us. They're going to cheat.
Well, it's funny. I always thought, and I'll leave you with this, I always thought that it would be great if someone in the media, like yourself or someone in the national media, could actually start a show that reviews what the media said a year ago, because it would be hilarious. Because what they said a year ago about Trump and or whatever it was 3 years ago about Trump and the Russians and all this stuff. And now Greg Gutfeld does it on his show at night, Gutfeld, and he'll put together a compilation of like everyone saying, Russian is Trump's an agent of Russia. And this, one after the other, no research. They just get talking points.
Well, think about this. The New York Times and the Washington Post both won Pulitzer Prizes for their stuff on Russia collusion. And they never were asked to turn him back in, nor did they have enough shame to say, hey, we don't deserve these. This was all, and give it back. I mean, can you imagine? You come home from work every day and you look at your Pulitzer Prize sitting there on your mantelpiece and say, wow, I earned that.
Well, it doesn't mean anything. And that's like they gave one to Obama just because he showed up. I mean, I would be thrilled to give him one if he had done something, but he literally got elected, and like 3 months later, he's up for the Pulitzer Prize.
Well, even he said he had no business winning that. He even admitted that himself. Thank you, my friend. I got to hold you 508-996-0500. Quick break. We'll come right back for your calls. So stay right.
Sucker punch somebody on the sidewalk. Carjacking old lady at a red light. Pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face. Stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town.
1246 on a Tuesday afternoon, 508-996-0500. Just before I forget real quickly, if you're interested in a good book, I've been reading, I'm just about done with it. It's a book called The Residents by Kate Anderson Brower. Yeah, it's Brower, Kate Anderson Brower. And it's called The Residents, Inside the Private World of the White House. It was a New York Times bestseller. And she takes you behind the scenes to what it's like to actually work in the White House. And she gives you some insight from some of the butlers and maids and other folks that have been working there for years, that have had to deal with and serve some of these presidents, and some interesting stuff about the Clintons, the Johnsons as well. My God. But anyway, it's a good book. I think you might enjoy reading it. 508-996-0500. Thanks for hanging on. You're next on WBSM.
What's going on, Barry?
Hey, how you doing?
Not bad. Have you touched on the LSU basketball game, women's basketball game?
Is that the one where they walked off the court for the national anthem?
Right. Yeah, I hear a lot of arguments, and obviously against what they did. But what I don't hear, and it's a really tough argument to have. And it's tough on you, especially, as somebody who respects the national anthem and respects the flag, to defend their right and their actions. A lot of people don't do that. And
to defend their defend their right to and their action to walk off the court for the national anthem?
Correct.
Why would you want to do that?
you want to actually defend their right to do that.
No, I don't.
No, listen. Hold on, Barry. That in and of itself is exactly why we have the First Amendment, right? It's the First Amendment and freedom of speech is not for freedom of speech is like it's easy to defend freedom of speech when everybody agrees, but when it's actually antithetical to what the what we are as patriots, as patriotic Americans, to actually still defend their right, not defend their actions, but defend their right. They have the right to do that. And
well, not necessarily because well, I don't know what I don't know. I'm not even sure where the game was played. Was it played at LSU?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it was LSU. I didn't read the story. I saw the headline and I said, yeah, this, whatever. I know it was LSU and somebody else, college basketball game, and the LSU team walked off the court before the national anthem, came back out and got their asses handed to them. They lost, which is cool. I'm glad they lost. And but no, you don't always have a right. And, just because you think you have a right doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. But you don't always have a right. For example, the football players, they didn't have a right to kneel. They were working. They were working for a private company. Okay, and if the private company says no, you don't kneel, or no, you don't sit in the locker room, or no, you don't disrespect the flag, then you don't do it. And if you do, you should be fired for it. The problem is none of the NFL owners had the guts to do that because these guys win ball games and there's billions of dollars. So that shows you right there what was more important to the owners of the teams. But now I don't know what the policy at LSU is in terms of respecting the flag. They don't necessarily have a right to walk off the court before the national anthem.
They have a right. First of all,
no. How do you know they have a right? How do you know they have a right?
Because the right of free speech.
No. You don't always have a right to free speech. Wait a minute. Hold on. No, you hold on. I listen to you, and then you don't want to let me speak. You do that all the time. That's so rude. No, you don't always have a right to free speech. You're not guaranteed free speech whenever and however you want to present it. There are rules that govern. You don't have a right to walk into a crowded school and yell fire. You can't do that. That's against the law. You don't have the freedom to speak anytime and anywhere that you want to. Sorry, you don't have the right. I don't know what the LSU rules are or what the contract, what kind of deal these kids signed to play there. I don't know what it says. But if the rule says you can't do this, you don't do it.
So hold on. LSU is a state. It's a government. It's a government entity. LSU, Louisiana State University. It's a state organization.
So what?
The government doesn't have the right to stop free speech.
The government has a right to control the behavior of people within that institution. You can't run around LSU buck-ass naked, and you can't walk into a classroom at LSU and yell fire either because you'll get your butt kicked out. You can't do that. You don't have an absolute right to freedom of speech in this country. It doesn't exist.
You don't like free speech that you disagree with.
No, that's not true. That is an oversimplification and a very stupid thing to say. That is an oversimplification and a very stupid thing to say. You do not have an absolute right to free speech in this country. There are laws and rules and regulations that govern when you have a right to free speech. You don't have a right just to speak out anytime you want to. You don't have that right. If you want to, you can be punished for it. Or you could be sanctioned for it. Now, I don't know what the rules are at LSU, whether there's any rule on the book over there about walking out of the national anthem. I don't know what their rules are. Maybe there are no rules about it. At the very least, it's disrespectful and it's wrong, and I would have benched every one of those players if I was the coach, and I would have had the authority to do that. You do not have an absolute right to free speech in this country. It just doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. You cannot go into an LSU classroom or an auditorium and start yelling fire. Or he's got a gun, he's shooting. Panic, everybody, somebody gets hurt. You don't have a right to do that. There are rules and laws that govern that. So you don't have a First Amendment right to do whatever you think you want to do. And there's common sense and respect issues as well here, too. So, but thank you again for trying. You try every day, and then you just, I don't know where you're coming from. But, hey, listen, untreated hearing loss puts people at a significant risk of cognitive decline, such as dementia and Alzheimer's, due to cognitive or brain fatigue because of increased listening effort. Individuals with even a mild hearing loss left untreated increase their risk of failing significantly. All kinds of new research on this, studies, testing. It is amazing. Duncan Hearing Healthcare now does a functional hearing assessment that can analyze a person's difficulty hearing in the presence of background noise and rate their listening effort in comparison to hearing with hearing devices. Fascinating stuff. DuncanHearing.com. Check it out. Check them out. Call them today, 508-910-2221. That's Duncan Hearing Healthcare. Please tell them that Barry sent you. We're back after. All right, welcome back. 12:55 on a mostly cloudy Tuesday afternoon. 508-996-0500 is our phone number. And again, I mean, if I were the coach of LSU, every single one of those players would have been sitting the bench and would not have played. I would have put the towel boys in before the janitor would have played, before any one of those kids played that walked off the court. 508-996-0500. You're up next on WBSM. Good afternoon.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. I believe in free speech, as long as the Democrats can control it.
Yeah. I believe in free speech. I have no problem with free speech, but some people think that they have a right to say what they want, when they want, and you don't have a right to object to it. When you're talking about a college or you're talking about a business or whatever, no, the people that are in charge set the tone for what your behavior can be, and you either adhere to that behavior or you don't go there anymore. It's as simple as that. You want to walk out during the anthem, do it all day long, but you're not going to do it here.
Well, that's fine, but like I said, the government should be able to control it. That way they won't get out any false information like all the Republicans are putting out.
Yeah, no, I mean, but we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings either, too, right? I mean, so we better set up a cry space just in case, in case we do. It's crazy.
I still think Trump colluded with Russia.
You think so, huh?
That's how he got in.
Yeah.
Hillary was right.
Yeah, I saw Putin vote twice in the election, so. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. 508-996-0500 is the phone number. My goodness. Larry Lucchino has died. Larry Lucchino, who was the Red Sox president during the 2004 World Series. Red Sox won the World Series. Just getting word here that Larry Lucchino has passed away. Former president of the Red Sox, helped break the curse of the Bambino. 78 years old. Red Sox in the sports world have lost a giant, the team said. Larry was a visionary whose competitive spirit and strong will took sports franchises to new heights, particularly ours. And, boy, I'll tell you, it is so sad to see sports today. I don't know. I just... I look at the Red Sox right now, for example. I couldn't even tell you. So with the exception of Rafael Devers, I guess, is still playing. Beyond that, I couldn't even tell you a name. And remember how exciting it was back then in 2004? So I'm just taking a look through the story on LSU this morning. I didn't bother reading it. You know, you hit the news sites in the morning, and LSU, the girls' team walks off the court for the national anthem. It's like, so what? Who cares? Why is this even getting news? They know they're going to get news, so they know they're going to get coverage. So they because it's controversial, so they do it. If nobody paid attention to them and didn't report on it, they wouldn't. But since it was brought up, the article I've got in front of me, LSU women's basketball comes under scrutiny for missing national anthem before game versus Iowa. Game Monday night after the team didn't come out for the national anthem before the regional final game against Iowa Hawkeyes. And LSU head coach Kim Mulkey was asked after the game why the team didn't come out for the national anthem. Mulkey chalked it up to routine. Honestly, I don't even know when the anthem was played. Wow.